I stopped the recording at lunch, so there wasn't just like an hour or 45-minute blank spot in the middle of it. So just hit record again. So thank you. All right. Well, just to be mindful of everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and get started because we've got a lot to get into this afternoon. But before I do that, just wanted to do a quick check to see if during lunch, if you were exploring anything and had any questions. Okay. All right, so looking at our agenda, we are going to continue right where we left off, which is right in the middle of those lesson components for the skill strand. We'll talk about spelling and tricky words, and then we'll shift gears over to the knowledge strand and touch upon writing and assessments quickly. We will take a break this afternoon, and then we will definitely be ending by 3 p.m. All right, so we have now looked at the foundational skills components in Miss Hart's lesson. And we're going to dive into the reading section of the lesson, and that this is what the lesson has been building towards the entire time. So students learn and practice sound spelling correspondences earlier in the lesson to be able to decode or read them in a text in this component. So this is their chance to actually work on that decoding. The teachers asked to preview the learn sound spelling correspondences that students will encounter in the text, as well as any important vocabulary before going off and reading that text in order to promote student success with the text. Students will then go off and read, maybe independently, maybe in partnerships, maybe a whole group reading, really whatever you see fit for your students. And then oftentimes they'll respond to some written comprehension questions. So this is the lesson we're going to be watching. We're going to jump right back into Miss Hart's classroom. It's found on pages 28 and 29 of your participant notebook. If you would just take a couple minutes to preview this before we watch the video. After we view the video, we'll discuss these questions. They're very similar to the ones we answered earlier. What design principles demonstrated? What foundational skills do you see? How does the teacher set up her students for success with the chapter? And then what materials do you see the teacher and students using? And those are found on page 30, but I will display them afterwards so that we can reflect on those. So I will go ahead and share this video. Please let me know if there's anything going on with sound so I can make adjustments for everyone. One second, everyone. Google Meet's giving me a problem. One second. Thank you for your patience.
The Bag of Coins. And this story is about. All right, boys and girls, today we're going to read a new story called The Bag of Coins. And this story is about two people who go on a trip together. If you've ever been on a trip, put your hands in your head. So these two people go on a trip together, but they find something. they actually find a bag of coins. So before we read, let's look up here, and we are going to preview some of the words in our chart. So right now, I want everybody to take a second to look at these words. I'm going to call on different people to read them. Ready? Sullivan, eyes up here, big girl. Sullivan, eyes up here. I'm reading your way. All right, ready? Isabel, all of these words have what sound? Ow. Ow. So what's this first word, Isabel? Found. Very good. What sound is this, Alex? Oi. Oi. Very nice. Let's, on the count of 3, read this word together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Coin. Oh, we definitely need to know how to read that word, since the title of our story is called The Bag of Coins. And we have this list of tricky words that we just need to refresh our brains. Ready? Let's read them together. Who, what, my, all. Very nice. So we're going to see these words in our reader. But before we read today's story, I want to introduce you guys into some phrases that you may have already heard before. So one phrase you're going to hear in today's story is the foot of a tree. And so when I show you this picture, this is the foot of the tree. Where are your feet on your body? At the top of your body or at the bottom of your body? At the bottom of your body. So we're going to hear the foot of a tree, and it's talking about the bottom of a tree. I'm going to leave you with that. So our purpose for reading is to find out, when 2 people go on this trip, what do you think might happen when they find a bag of coins? They're going to keep. Oh, I don't know. We'll have to read to find out. That's our purpose for reading. So let's go ahead and read to find out. And today, the way we're going to read is that I'm going to work with a few of you at the blue table, and then I'm going to partner you guys up. So all right, guys. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions. What does one man discover while he's on the trip with his friend? What does one man discover while he's on the trip with his friend? Go in the story and find your answer. And then I want you to look at your peanut butter and jelly partner and tell them what he finds. What does one man discover? Oh, find it in your book. And then look at your peanut butter and jelly partner, lean over, and tell him and whisper what he found. Who's your peanut butter and jelly partner? I think Sullivan is.
No, I am.
No, I think Olivia and Alex are, and you 2 are. There we go. No, just your peanut butter and jelly partner, like on the carpet. Not your partner. All right, go. Look at your peanut butter and jelly partner and whisper. Lean over to them and whisper and tell them what one man found. Lean and whisper. Vivian, who's your peanut butter and jelly partner? Look at him, lean over and whisper and tell him what he found. All right, very good. Okay, who wants to answer for me? Olivia.
Bag of coins.
Can you say that in a complete sentence?
They found a bag of coins.
They or one man? One man found a bag of coins.
All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and display those questions, give you a couple of minutes to reflect on those, and then we will discuss all together. Okay, no worries. If you're not finished, let's discuss this question. So, number one, what design principles are demonstrated in this lesson? And again, these can be found on pages 5 and 6 in your participant notebook or also on that Padlet. See, some great guesses coming through the chat box. Fantastic. If you were thinking number two, that's systematic practice and reinforcement of code-related skills, you're correct. It's necessary for building that automaticity. Students are practicing decoding words that contain the focus sound spelling of the pattern. So great job, or of the lesson. The next question is asking you about the foundational skills. That's that literacy house. What foundational skills do you notice? And I'll give you a hint, there are two. Seeing some reading comprehension come in, that is fantastic. And that accurate and fluent reading. So yes, because students are practicing that accurate and fluent reading of a text when they're working on just reading that text. And then they're also practicing reading comprehension when responding to questions after the reading. So they're making meaning of that text. Great job. So if you notice, as the lesson went on, we built the floors up of our house, which is great. The next question is, how did she set her students up for success with the chapter? She explained the phrases. Yeah, she did a good job about that. The foot of a tree, right? Um, she introduced the reader. She reviewed those tricky words. Fantastic. Yeah, very good. And then hopefully you noticed that she was using the student readers, which we're going to look a little bit into now. Oh, yes, thank you, Ashley, previewing the spellings. Yes, Jill, reviewing the sounds. Great job. That's such an important part of this, right? Because we really want to set them up for success. All right. Go back to sharing my screen. So just again, it was that systematic practice and reinforcement of code-related skills that is really necessary for building that automaticity, the accurate and fluent reading of a text and reading comprehension. And the teacher does a really good job of setting her students up for success. She reviews the sound spelling correspondences so that the students are more easily able to decode those words containing those correspondences in the text. And she also takes the time to review important vocabulary and set a purpose for reading to help students make meaning of the text. So great work, everyone. All right, so let's take a closer look at the student readers now. And these are on pages 31 and 32 of your notebook. But you see two examples of the readers. And I want you to take a look at any differences you may notice. And just so you know that we're not looking at spacing and we're not looking at font size. For some reason, they're a bit different here. They shouldn't be. But we're just kind of looking at any other differences you may see. So hopefully you notice that you see some boldings and some underlinings with the student reader on the left. That is what a CKLA student reader looks like. So as you can see here, the sound spelling correspondence that students have learned has been highlighted in bold. This is to help remind students of how they learn to decode that sound spelling correspondence. So in the case of this reader, students have recently just learned that vowel consonant E. So every time there's a vowel consonant E, it's going to be bolded to remind students to decode that. On this one is here, you may have also noticed some underlining. Words that are tricky or cannot be decoded using the sound spelling correspondences that students have already learned are underlined. So we'll talk more about tricky words in just a little bit, but these are just some of the supports that are built in within these student readers. Let's now take a look at how the student readers progress from kindergarten through second grade. So the first student reader in kindergarten is in Unit 6. Students use picture readers with tricky words before this unit. So this is the first page of the Unit 6 student reader in kindergarten. So you see their kit can run, and you see a picture. Let's take a look at what the last reader looks like. So this is the last reader. So this is the first page of the last chapter in the last student reader. So this is the progress they're making from Unit 6 to Unit 10. And that is amazing. There is so much progress. So if you see in the first picture, there's just, 3 words in a sentence, all short vowels, a direct picture to support that sentence. But if we're looking over here, you can see there's some long vowel sound spelling correspondences. There's a tricky word. There's longer sentences, many sentences on the page. So you can just really see how much progress has been made in that year, which is incredible. Let's take a look at first grade. This is the first page of the first chapter of that Unit 1 student reader. So you can see they kind of take into account that summer slump or the summer drain, whatever we call it. So it kind of backs up to kind of review a little bit of the previous grade. But let's take a look at the first page of the last chapter in first grade. So this is from Unit 1 to Unit 7 in first grade. So again, look at all that progress that has made. That's amazing. All right, let's take a look at second grade. This is the first page of the first chapter in second grade. And then this is the first page of the last chapter in Unit 6. So look at the progress here in second grade from Unit 1 to Unit 6. It's amazing, right? You can notice that even the font changes. So students are going to have to recognize that letter A different ways. So you can even tell here just how long the sentences are, even the size of the font changes. I mean, it's amazing. You'll see some boldings here now, and these are bolded words. They're just kind of showing vocabulary because now all of the code has been taught. So while these readers are decodable, this does not mean they lack complexity. So as you can see, that textual complexity combines that qualitative and quantitative factors, and the challenges of these readers really increase substantially in content, in length, in vocabulary, as students are progressing through the grades. All right, so just important information for you, some things that you will see in the back of your student readers. So you're going to see these icons, and here's an example of what they look like here. So these are called the code load icons, right? So this is going to tell you the number of sound spelling correspondences students need to know to read the first story, and then the number of sound spelling correspondences that students are going to read or need to know in the last story. You're also going to find a page like this in the back of your student reader. Now, this page is going to tell you exactly which sound spelling correspondences students should know before reading the reader. And then it's going to tell you which students are going to encounter as they're reading or they're in the reader. So just some really good specific information for you that's found in the back of the student reader. Just like to highlight those because you may not know that they're there for you, which is a really great resource. So the student readers can also be accessed in a couple different ways. There is an ebook version, which is really, really great. It's found under that multimedia tab. I really like what it looks like because it almost feels like a book. You see the pages flipping. It's really, really nice. And then there's also an audiobook available to you as well. And I really like it because it is an actual narrator reading the story and not just like that computer voice or anything. So I'm going to go to the website and show you where you can access those. So you're going to find these under that multimedia tab, and you have your ebooks here. So I'm going to scroll down. This is just the kindergarten one. It was the first one I clicked on. And you can see it just flips the book. These are great. These can be displayed, on your whiteboard for the whole group. These can be used for small groups and an iPad. I mean, there's so many different variations you can use these. And then I want to show you that you do have access. You do have access to all of them, what's really nice. And then also under that multimedia tab, there right there are the audiobooks. And these are really nice too. So you can choose whatever story you would like to play and play that for the student. Maybe this is, some of those students that aren't ready to actually read it, they can listen to it, which is really great, or maybe they can listen to it ahead of time, just lots of different resources or ways to use these. It's important to know, again, that unfortunately the teacher guide is not going to suggest these resources to you, but it's important that you know that they are there and for you to use however you see fit in your classroom. Later today, I'm going to share some information about the Student Hub. The Student Hub is where students will be able to access these resources on their own. So they'll be able to access these student readers and even at home as well, which is great. So let's just do a quick check for understanding. What words are underlined in the student reader? Tricky words or words that contain that focus, sound, spelling correspondence? And if you were thinking tricky words, you are correct. And then true or false, student readers are 95% decodable. And that is false because they are actually 100% decodable. So great job. So remember, these student readers are controlled to only use sound spelling correspondences that students have already been taught. Therefore, they are 100% decodable. These student readers contain supports such as bolding to help students decode and underlining to help students identify tricky words. Throughout the grades, the student readers increase in text complexity, including increased amounts of academic and domain-specific words. Students demonstrate their reading comprehension through discussion and response to written comprehension questions. All right, so that takes us through the lesson components. And in that, we kind of talked a little bit about spelling and tricky words. So we want to touch upon that before we move over to that knowledge strand. So before we head over to that CKLA approach, I just kind of want to give you a minute to reflect on your spelling instruction. Just think about, what is the goal of your spelling instruction and how do you teach spelling words in your classroom? This is just a reflective question, so just think about it. And I know we've seen people with lots of experience here, so I'm sure you've covered spelling in lots of different ways. So let's just take a minute to reflect. I know I have taught spelling so many different ways, from that random list that you give on Monday, due on Friday, and a quiz. I taught in schools and states where at the time they said, we don't teach spelling at all. There's just no spelling. So I feel like I've covered a wide variety of ways of spelling. So let's talk about the CKLA approach to spelling. Now, I feel like when we talk about spelling, there's a couple things that everyone wants answered. Does it follow the Monday through Friday cadence? No, it does not. Maybe, but it is not designed that way. And then also, are there spelling assessments? Yes, those are. I feel like when you think about spelling, that's what our teacher brains want to know. And because we always know that's what the parents want to know, right? So we need to have that. So I think the best way really to kind of look at the CKLA approach to spelling is to look at just kind of walking through a lesson, which is what we're going to do here. So spelling assessments begin in Unit 3 in first grade. The words that students learn for their spelling assessments in first and second grade are going to correspond to previously learned sound spelling correspondences. Okay, so it's, we're not asking students to memorize just a random group of words, right? And it doesn't follow that Monday through Friday cadence. So students are only expected to spell words that they have already learned to read. This is very important because CKLA does not have students memorize the spelling of words for that which they have not already learned the sound spelling correspondences. This is because the goal of the spelling portion here of the curriculum is not to simply have students memorize words, but they're really practicing encoding words that they have already learned to decode. So therefore, students are really practicing spelling words by completing activity book pages and other practice activities throughout a unit, rather than those more traditional spelling practices of just writing that word multiple times and all of those things. So it's good to know that there's going to be one tricky word in your list of words, right? So it's a list of words of previously learned sound spelling correspondences plus a tricky word. As you know, tricky words do not follow the rules. So this one tricky word will have to be memorized. But again, the tricky word will have already been introduced to the student. So it's not the first time that they're seeing it. They have already practiced reading this word. So the spelling list is going to include a sound spelling correspondence that students have already learned to read. The week here that they're working on, or their list right here, are letter teams that make a long vowel sound. So we're just kind of going to walk through this. So this is the step where you are introducing the letter or the words to your students. So what you're going to do, and the teacher guide walks you right through it, but you're going to read and write each spelling word, underlining and reviewing the vowel team or the sound spelling correspondence, that's the focus of the list, with your students. Students are going to repeat the word, and this is done for all of the spelling list. So, for example, when you're introducing that word green, right, you're going to say it, you're going to write it, you're going to underline that EE and remind students that EE is that letter team that makes that E sound. After introducing each word, teachers are going to ask students to use the word in the sentence. You're going to clarify meanings, make sure everyone has a solid understanding of these words, and do any clarifying that needs to be done. The final step in the first day of introducing the process is sending home this take-home letter, which I really love. There's a family letter included in your student activity book where you can just tear out and send home to parents. This is a critical component of the lesson since students are expected to practice and learn these words at home. So it's great that, both students and parents can understand this to ensure success for students with these words. All right, so we've mentioned tricky words a little bit today. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. There's some really, really great information in your participant notebook starting on page 34. So if you want to highlight or doggy ear, sticky note those pages, they're a great reference for you. They're also found on the professional learning site under your reference documents for your grade level where that inventory list was found if you want to find the same document there. But let's talk about these tricky words. So in CKLA, tricky words are used in the skills strand to identify words that cannot be sounded out using the sound spelling correspondences that students have been taught. So in kindergarten, some words are taught as tricky words. And now as students are introducing to more of the code, words taught as tricky words in kindergarten are not included on tricky word lists in subsequent grades because now students will be able to decode those words. So the term sight word is often used to describe a common word that students should practice reading and just recognize rapidly. However, many words taught as sight words can actually be decoded, right? Words like one, two, of, who, could, those are tricky words because they are not pronounced as expected based on the sound spelling correspondences we teach. But words like in, at, on, and up, they can be decoded. So instead of teaching children to just recognize them as sight words, CKLA is going to expect children to decode these. Now, when you are introducing tricky words to your students, the teacher guide will prompt you to point out which part of the tricky word is decodable and which part is not. And it will walk you right through that process, which is I really like. So look at the left side of the Venn diagram. These are words that cannot be decoded, and they are not high frequency words. They are taught as tricky words because students are going to see them in their student readers. So we say that these words are tricky words until they are taught, and then after that they become sticky. So we're moving from tricky to sticky. The emphasis in CKLA is to teach students that English is a predictable language that can be decoded using the sound spelling correspondences that they're learning, which is why students are taught to segment and blend letter sounds to solve words rather than to just memorize them. So again, if you'd like some more information on these sight words, and there's even, I think, mentions dolch words and tricky words and when they're taught, those pages are going to give you a lot of great information, and they're again found on that professional learning site. So if you're interested in displaying some tricky words in your classroom, we have a couple different examples here. We have two different teachers' classrooms, but as you can see in both pictures, all of the tricky words are written on yellow. This is to signal to our students to slow down, use caution, since these words are not decodable. So you see the teacher on the left is only displaying her tricky words, and then the teacher on the right is displaying all sorts of words. So she has her tricky word walls on yellow, but then she has her other words on green, signaling that you can just go and decode those. So just a couple different examples if you're interested in having a tricky word wall. So quick review on this component. CKLA spelling lists are organized by common sound spelling correspondences. CKLA spelling lists contain words with sound spelling correspondences that have been previously learned. Tricky words are not decodable using the code students have already learned. And students are taught to decode decodable sight words rather than just memorize them. I love that piece. All right, so that wraps up our skill strand. Okay, so we went through the guiding principles, we went through the lessons, we saw some example lessons. Now we're going to shift gears and look at that knowledge strand. So just as a reminder, CKLA takes that two-strand approach in grades K through 2. That skill strand, which we just went over, it goes over that decoding, while the knowledge strand is really going to focus on that listening comprehension. And again, just as a reminder, There's a 60-minute for skills instruction and a 60 minutes of knowledge strand instruction. And those are separated to prevent that cognitive overload for our students. So we're going to talk about the importance of background information and reading comprehension. And I really think the best way to do that is to talk about this baseball study. So the baseball study is an older study. It was done in 1988 by Recht and Leslie, and it is still often cited as compelling proof to the importance of background knowledge and reading comprehension. So the researchers wanted to determine students' reading ability by their performance on a standardized reading assessment. So they gave students a pretest. This pretest was read orally by their teacher. It was only to assess their level of background knowledge about baseball. After that, the students silently read a passage about baseball and independently answered questions on that text. So, what happened? As you're probably able to predict, is what happened in orange here, right? The students with a high reading ability and high background knowledge about baseball, they scored the highest on the test. The students with a low reading ability and low background knowledge about baseball, they scored the lowest. But what was really interesting is what happened here in purple. These students with a low reading ability but high background knowledge about baseball, they outperformed the students with high reading ability and low background knowledge about baseball. So the readers with this low ability but high knowledge simply had the context to understand what was happening in the story. So for example, one of the sentences was, Robert sacrificed Martin to second. For them, they could probably visualize it. They knew what was going on in the story. However, these students over here with that high reading ability, maybe they were able to decode those words or read the words on the text, but their lack of knowledge about baseball really hindered them from understanding what was going on. So our goal in this knowledge strain of CKLA is to build up that student background through scaffolded read alouds on a wide variety of topics so that they can comprehend a wide variety of text. So let's take a minute here and just think, what implications does the importance of background knowledge and reading comprehension have for students? I'm going to leave this up here on the screen. And then you are welcome to come off mute to respond, or if you just want to type something in the chat box, you may do that too. I'm going to come back and check the chat box. So it helps students' overall understanding of what is happening. Yes, very good. It's not an even playing field. Kids with a wide range of background knowledge will likely comprehend more. Thank you, Pam. I always say that. I say that giving those students that background knowledge levels the playing field for everyone. Builds understanding. Background knowledge will enhance the reader's ability to understand. Fantastic. There's obviously, and we're seeing it right now, a lot of research that goes into, how important background knowledge is in reading comprehension. But I think it just also adds a layer of motivation or engagement to get our students to read, right? I mean, I even know personally for me, when I find something to read, like, oh, yeah, I know a little bit about that. Let me find out some more. Or it even adds a level of excitement. And I love this part of it being a classroom teacher when you're sitting around and you're building that background knowledge and you see that student that maybe didn't participate so much before, but has all of this background knowledge about something and can contribute. So I love that part. So it definitely is not an even playing field. And building that background knowledge is doing that for them. So thank you all so much. Yes. Celeste, also for our EL students. Yep, very good. Thank you, guys. All right, let's jump back to the presentation. All right, so what you're looking at here is a chart showing all of the different units or domains taught from pre-K through 5th grade. So I'll give you a minute to, look at your grade level, because that's exactly what I would do, and look at all the cool topics you'll be teaching. But then after that, make sure to kind of skim over the rest of them, specifically paying attention to the areas in black to see how things cycle over the years. So you see lots of really great topics, complex topics for such young ages, right? But lots of social studies and science, just really, really interesting things. So CKLA recognizes the importance of developing students' listening comprehension and their ability to discuss a text to support building background knowledge that will allow for independent reading comprehension in later grades. This research here that you're looking at further supports that idea. So you're looking at a graph that's showing reading comprehension and listening comprehension from ages 1 to 13. So as you can see, students' listening comprehension is not equivalent to their reading comprehension until about age 13. That's really just amazing to me. I feel it's really easy to understand, or maybe it's just easier to understand in these younger grades. But as you grow up, you forget that how much more they're able to comprehend when they're listening rather than just reading. So as you see, their listening comprehension far outpaces their reading comprehension for years. In order to build students' background knowledge, we read text aloud to them so that when their reading comprehension catches up, they will have that background knowledge they need to comprehend the text. For this reason, in the knowledge strand, we read the text orally. Students do not have a copy of the text printed in front of them. Knowledge strand texts are written at a text complexity level 2 grades higher than that of the students, so that they have the experience of comprehending complex text orally before doing it independently in subsequent years. Therefore, it is really important to read the text as is rather than paraphrase it. This is to ensure your students are being exposed to these rigorous texts. So since the texts in these knowledge strands are 2 grade levels more complex, the lessons are designed to support students' ability to access these texts. So I'm going to review the components of the knowledge strand lesson just like we did with the skills strand. So all lessons begin with an introducing the read aloud portion. This is where that teacher is going to ask students to recall previously learned information to aid in their understanding of the lesson's text. Then the teacher is going to move into presenting that read aloud. This is where the teacher is going to set that purpose for reading, where they guide students on what to listen for during the read aloud. And you'll notice there's lots of comprehension supports along the way. Next, students have that opportunity to enhance their understanding of the text through discussion. Finally, students participate in a word work activity to further their understanding of a key vocabulary word. And I think one of the most important parts is this application activity. This is what's going to allow students to extend their learning from the read aloud. So when you're teaching all components of the knowledge lesson, or really just anytime we teach reading, we hit so many objectives, right? But it's really important to just keep the primary focus objective in mind and kind of prioritize your questions and your class discussion to always keep that primary focus objective in mind. So just a little stamp our learning on this. The read aloud lesson format is designed to support listening comprehension skills, which are critical to that later reading comprehension. CKLA is going to systematically build knowledge, and these knowledge lessons are structured to support students in comprehending a read aloud that is written 2 grade levels higher than their current grade level. All right, so let's dig into these lesson components. So the first lesson of every unit has a portion where teachers are going to introduce students to the new unit topic. CKLA has also created an additional resource that can be used to help increase student background knowledge on the topic and really just get them excited and more engaged in this topic. And the way they do that is through these knowledge builder videos. Now, these are an additional component that can be used at the beginning of a unit. These are not mentioned again in that teacher guide, so it's important that you know where these are. They are found on the multimedia tab on the CKLA website. And after we watch the example video, I'll show you where you can access these. We're going to watch this example video, but they're all about 2 or 3 minutes long. This one comes from first grade. It's domain 4, Early World Civilizations. So give me 1 second to switch the way I'm sharing this video.
What are you boys doing over there?
Oh, we're creating civilizations.
How interesting. Tell me about them. Marduk, why don't you go first?
Well, mine is called Mesopotamia.
And mine is Egypt, which is like 1 billion times cooler than Mesopotamia.
Is not.
Is too.
Is not.
Boys, no fighting. Now, Amon-Ra, go ahead and tell me about your civilization.
In Egypt, the people live along the side of a river called the Nile. Here's the Nile now. Whoops. Sometimes it floods.
Well, Mesopotamia has 2 great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Lots of people live along these rivers, and they use it to travel and to trade with one another. The land between these rivers is also great for growing crops. My people grow tons of wheat and barley.
Wheat and barley. What do they use those crops for?
They eat them. There's enough to feed a whole lot of people. Enough to feed whole cities.
I have cities too in Egypt. And also we have leaders. We have to have leaders and rules. The more people, the more you need someone to tell them what to do. Like this pharaoh. Rawr, rawr, rawr. He's a leader to make sure the civilization can keep growing.
Oh, I see.
Mesopotamia has leaders too. We have Hammurabi. He's one of the coolest leaders. He made up a whole code of laws so people would know the right and wrong things to do. And he asked the people to dig canals so they could farm more crops and feed everybody. And also, we have cuneiform. That's a kind of writing, so everybody could keep records of how much cool stuff they have.
No fair. Egypt has writing too. It's called hieroglyphics. And it's a million times better than cuneiform.
Well, Mesopotamian writing was first. We were first in a lot of things. Remember the Code of Hammurabi? Plus, we built ziggurats so people had a place to worship.
Egypt built pyramids and the Sphinx.
More like stinks.
Why, you...
Well, I think both your civilizations are very nice, but I think it's time to go home now.
Aww.
Come on, Amon-Ra. Come on, Marduk. What do you say we pick up some ice cream along the way?
Ice cream?
Oh boy!
I want honey and emmer wheat on mine.
Ew! Cuneiform carob crunch for me.
So as you can guess, they absolutely love these videos. They are so much fun. I'm going to go and show them to where, or show you where they are on the website. And then I'll show you some other resources that are there available to you to get your students excited around a new topic. So again, they're found on the Multimedia tab. You'll click on Knowledge Builders and you'll scroll down. You do have access to them all, but you can sort by grade level. So if we're looking at second grade here, you can click on it, and that's where you'll be able to play the video. It gives you a little video overview. And then below there's a video guide, and some of them even have a student activity page if that's something that you would like to complete with your students or for your students to complete. So a lot of great resources there. Now, another thing that CKLA has to get students excited about a new topic is a trade book list. So I'm going to show you where that complements each unit. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the first knowledge one. In the trade book list, it's kind of in a strange place. So it's found under this digital components section. So I'm going to click on digital components. And then I'm going to scroll down. It's the first thing. It's called recommended resources. Okay, so here are some recommended resources that go along with this unit. So as you see, you have a trade book list here with a bunch of books that complement this unit. You know, maybe you have those students that are so excited and they just want to know more about this topic. So here's a list of books. Some teachers like to create like a basket of books in each classroom that complement the domain. Maybe this is where you can find some time to do a read aloud outside of that CKLA block just to give them a little more background of it. Sometimes even you'll see that there are some websites and other resources that are available for you. So just wanted you to make sure that is available for each knowledge domain, and it's found again in that digital components part. So they have then taken one of those books and they have created a trade book guide, which is found in that same topic there. The same little part. So what they have done for one of the trade books, they have created a summary, an essential question, giving you more information about the book. They've given you some vocabulary words to use with the book. They've created a performance task and also a writing prompt. So this could be a great resource for those students that, you know, love it, they need a little more, or maybe it's something that your whole class is involved in. You can, you know, just complete this also, but this is just available for you for every unit for one book, those trade book guides. I love having those options. So I'm going to come back to you all to see if there are any questions about those knowledge builder videos, the trade book list, or the trade book guides. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take a look at the at a knowledge video. It's an abbreviated version of a full knowledge lesson. This video is one of my favorite videos. It takes place in first grade. And then after that, we'll take a break, and then we'll look at some grade level specific things. So let me go back to sharing my screen. All right, so we're gonna watch an abbreviated version of a full lesson. So we're not watching a full 60-minute lesson. It is about 14 minutes long though. It's a longer video. So you're gonna see as the video is going along, just slides are going to come up and show you which part of the lesson that you're watching. So if you look here, this is what we went over earlier. There's that introducing the read aloud, there's the read aloud, and then there's the application. For this lesson or for this video, we're not going to preview the lesson because we want you to experience it as the student, just to kind of see what they see. There are a couple questions that we will discuss afterwards. They are found on pages 40 and 41 of your participant notebook, but I will display them afterwards. How does the structure of the lesson promote student comprehension? What engagement techniques does the teacher use? She uses a lot. She's amazing. And then how does the application activity allow students to apply and extend their learning from the read aloud? And that application activity comes at the end of the video. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share this video. Please enjoy it. Every time I watch this video, I enjoy it just a little bit more. This is a first grade classroom. It comes at the end of first grade. So you're going to be really impressed the way they communicate, the way they discuss things, the way they speak in sentences. It's amazing. Please let me know if anything goes on with sound so I can make adjustments. And to let me know, just come off a mute because I'm watching the video with you, so I can't see the chat box. So just come off a mute if there's anything going on. Thank you so much for your support with that.
Before we move on to today's lesson, let's recall and remember what we talked about on yesterday. Now, when we got to lesson 4 on yesterday, we had already acquired the Louisiana Territory. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, our president at the time of this story, who was that president? Jared.
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson wants this young man to go someplace. Who is this young man and where does the president of that time want him to go? Jeremy, in a complete sentence.
James Monroe is
The young man.
the young man that Thomas Jefferson asked
Has to do what, darling?
to go to France
And why is he going to France?
to meet Napoleon
Okay, Napoleon
Bonaparte.
Awesome. Now, who else can tell me why he's going there to meet with Napoleon Bonaparte? Jaden?
He's going to meet with Napoleon Bonaparte because Thomas Jefferson wants to buy the New Orleans so that he could go up and down the Mississippi River.
Yes. He wants to purchase New Orleans so we can go up and down the Mississippi River. Because he's afraid if what? What is he afraid of? Terrell, what is he afraid of?
He's afraid of Thomas Jefferson.
Nah, do we agree or disagree? Who can help him out? What is he afraid of? Jared?
He's afraid of if Napoleon Bonaparte gets mad because he wouldn't let Thomas Jefferson pass through the Mississippi River to go to New Orleans.
Awesome. Amari, can you show us the Louisiana Territory? Okay, and who can more specifically tell me what the Louisiana Territory is between? It's between what? Jared?
The Louisiana Territory is between the Mississippi River and Rocky Mountains.
Give your brains a kiss, boys and girls. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We learned last time about the Louisiana Purchase, when the United States government purchased the Louisiana Territory from France. Once the purchase of the Louisiana Territory was complete, President Thomas Jefferson wanted to send explorers to make maps of his new land and learn more about it. Thinking about the Louisiana Territory, Jefferson wondered, is it possible that there are tigers or elephants living out there in those unexplored western lands? No one has explored enough to really know. Perhaps there are plants whose leaves could be used as medicines to help sick people, or which would be delicious to eat. My Native American friends who live there have brought me a few plants to study, but I am sure there must be more plants and animals which even they have not seen. Jefferson prepared to send explorers into the Louisiana Territory. I need the leader of those explorers to be someone who I can trust, someone very brave and very smart. Why did Jefferson want someone to explore the territory? Turn and talk real quick. Talk to the person sitting next to you. Who'd like to answer out? Anna?
Because he wanted to know what the new land was like.
Because he wanted to know what the new land was like. Awesome. Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. President Jefferson suddenly smiled. Why? I know the person for the job. He sat down and wrote a letter to his former assistant, a man named Meriwether Lewis. Jefferson asked Meriwether Lewis if he would lead the team of explorers. Okay, again, we're going to do a quick turn and talk. What were the 3 tasks that President Jefferson wanted completed? Turn and talk. Turn and discuss all 3, darling. Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Who would like to share out? Greg Jr.
Find a water route.
I need a complete sentence. One of the tasks.
One of the tasks was to find a water route.
A water route, all water route where, darling? Who can help him out? Jeremy?
To the specific ocean.
Okay, but can I get a complete sentence?
One of the 3 tasks was find an all water route to the Pacific Ocean.
Awesome. Who can give me another task? Mary Ellis?
One of the tasks was to befriend the Native Americans.
And who can give me the last task?
Plants.
Think about it. We're supposed to think before we raise our hands to speak. Do you need some help? Okay, Zanira, can you help him out?
The task was to
We said we were looking for an all-water route to the Pacific Ocean. We already said to be friends with the Native Americans. What was the 3rd task? To find samples of plants and animals. Awesome. Give your brains a kick. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to discuss it. And the question is, why were these 3 tasks important to the United States? Why do you think these 3 tasks were important to the United States? Now turn and talk.
Why these 3 tasks were important to the United States? These 3 tasks was important to the United States was because if they found the all-water route to the Pacific Ocean, people can travel to different islands, and if you take samples of plants and animals, I think the most important part of the 3 important tasks were that they're going to help us know about our new land. I think the most important task was not the most important task. What is so important about the 3 tasks.
Okay, are we ready to share out? Yes! Okay, who'd like to share out? Who'd like to share out? Serenity, who's your partner? Please stand up with your partner. Okay, which task did you think was important and why?
I think getting samples of plants and animals was the most important task because if we didn't know that, we wouldn't know what kind of animals were out there.
Okay, what task did you feel was most important?
We think that making friends with the Native Americans was the most important
And why so?
because when they come back to their new land, they know other people that are there.
Who can tell me something about the timeline? How does it work? In what order does it go? Who can tell me something about the timeline? Kasana, in a complete sentence, darling.
About the timeline is that it goes in the order that it happens.
It goes in the order that events have happened. Guys, give your brains another kick. You rock first grade. Okay, so we're gonna look at our timeline. Who were the first people of North America? Who were the first people? Terrell, you wanna try? Okay, Terrell, who were the first people of North America?
The first people in North America was
I'll give him a chance.
a Native American.
Awesome, the Native Americans. Okay, and next on our timeline, we see a young man. Who knows who this young man is?
Daniel Boone.
Okay, and who can tell me something about Daniel Boone? What do we know about Daniel Boone? Mary Ellen?
Daniel Boone was a woodsman.
The woodsman. What else do we know about Daniel Boone? Carolyn?
He was brave.
He was brave. What else do we know about Daniel Boone? Jeremy?
He was adventurous.
He was adventurous. Serenity?
Daniel Boone crossed the Appalachian Mountains to the west.
Right. Yes, Daniel Boone crossed the Appalachian Mountains to the west. In the read aloud, you heard Jefferson say, I need the leader of these explorers to be someone I can trust. Someone very brave. Do this for me. Someone very brave and very smart. Say the word brave.
Brave.
When someone is brave, it means he or she shows courage and does something even if it may be dangerous or frightening. Tanya was brave when she decided to learn to swim, even though she was afraid of water. Can you think of a time when you or someone you know was brave? Think about it first, because remember, we think before we raise our hands to speak. Think about it. Think about it. Give yourselves a few seconds. Put your hands down. Think about it. Give yourselves a few seconds. Now, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you know I'm only going to pick 3 because we take turns with our
Friends.
Awesome. Okay, I need a sentence. I was brave when. It could be you or someone else. Or my mom was brave when. Zavette?
I was brave when I was getting my shots.
Yeah, shots do hurt. They do. Okay. Who else can use it in a sentence? Kasana?
My mom was brave when she shoot the spider away.
Awesome. Spiders can be scary. Jaden?
I was brave when I flipped off the ladder into the pool.
Okay, and what's that word we've been talking about?
Brave.
We take turns with our friends, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Okay, who'd like to share out? We're going to first talk about what you felt was the easiest task to accomplish. What do you think was the easiest task? And remember, it's your personal opinion. Okay? Anna, what do you think was the easiest task?
I think fighting an all-water route to the Pacific Ocean was the easiest task.
Okay. Who else? Does somebody think that there was another task that was the easiest? Jeremy?
The easiest task is to take samples of plants and animals.
Okay, would you like to tell me why you drew that conclusion? Why do you think that was the easiest task?
Because all you have to do is write it.
Jared, what do you think the easiest task was?
I think to make friends with was the easiest task.
To make friends with who? You left out a part.
I think to make friends with the Native Americans was the easiest task.
And why?
Because all you have to do is just make friends with them, give them gifts, and then you just leave and do one of the other tasks.
I love ending on that part. He's so cute. Just saying, oh, it's the easiest task is just to make friends. I love that video. I've watched it a lot, and I feel every time that I watch it, I pick up something else amazing in it. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to just digest everything that you saw. I'm going to display those questions again. Give you a couple minutes to reflect on those, and then I'd like to just discuss them, really discussing the engagement strategies and just all the great things that we saw in that video. So I'll display those for you, and we'll discuss in a couple minutes. Hey, Anna. I'm looking at your question in the chat box here. That's for what grade do you teach?
I teach kindergarten through third.
Okay. And then I'm going to just ask my manager because she's taking all district level questions, and maybe she can provide you with some better guidance coming from district as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. Thank you for your list there. Therese, sorry, I'm reading the chat box and answering questions at the same time. Should teachers use their current sight word list, though? Teresa, I would definitely ask district-wide. I don't really have that information on what they would like for you to do. I can ask my manager to see if she received anything and get back to you. And then Anna, yeah, I am waiting for a response for you as well. That may be coming at a later time, just kind of guidance on how to implement all of those in one classroom. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that knowledge video. I absolutely love it. Let's look at some of the questions. So the first one is asking, how does the lesson of the structure promote student success? Feel free to come off a mute or even just put something in the chat box.
There was a lot of questioning, so she was using some really good questioning techniques, and she, she gave kids time to think. Um, I, I, I forget if it was this one or another one where they did some turn and talk. Oh, they did turn and talk. Um, and I like how she related it to the timeline. I thought that was great.
Yeah. Thank you, Jill. She did a great job of, like you said, the questioning, the wait time. I feel like I can learn so much from her with just, she was almost like pulling the answers out of with like her eyes or something. I don't know. It was pretty cool. And yes, she used a lot of reference material, right? She had that timeline and you could see students using it. She had the map and she just had lots of great tools for them to use. She also spent that time, before the read aloud, kind of going over that information that they need. Like you said, during the read aloud, she asked the questions, allowed them to turn and talk so they can learn from each other. So great job. Joanne added that they build upon background knowledge of previously taught material. Great job. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the engagement techniques that she used. We mentioned some of them already. The reference materials, we referenced turn and talk.
Visuals.
Yes. Lots of great visuals. Thank you, Susan.
She also took on some persona, I felt, when she was talking to the kids, when she was repeating full statements from the background knowledge, which children like to have that tonation in reading. I think that keeps them engaged. So it was obvious that this isn't the first time that she's taught this, so that she already had some, what I would like to say, like, excitement about what she was about to teach. And so children build off of the excitement that the teachers bring into the reading.
Absolutely. Such a great point. Thank you very much. I even loved, she was very intentional in her delivery of the read aloud, which I think is what Susan's trying to say. Like, I love the way her pauses were a little dramatic when she said brave, she really, you can tell this is not the first time she has read this, or she was prepared. She knew how to perform it almost. And you could tell her students bought into it. They loved it. I am always amazed every time I watch this how interested and excited students are about this topic. So she does a great job. This is also another time where you can really add your personality. Lots of teachers, if you're someone who like costumes or artifacts, you can bring in things, show different images. She had lots of things on her wall that she referenced, but this would be a great time to show lots of images from that time. There's lots of things that we are so fortunate to have access to because of the internet. So you can show other pictures, lots of great things you can do here. And then the last question, how does the application activity allow students to apply and extend their learning? That was that very end part. Well, this end part, the application, is when you saw the students thinking about all the tasks that they had, and then they had to think about which they thought was maybe the easiest or which was the hardest, and then hopefully provide a reasoning for their opinion. So they were taking on what they learned and applying it to something they can relate to, you know, their opinion of something. Like the boy at the end when he said, well, I think the easiest task is just making friends, because you just show up and you give them a gift and then you move on to the next one. You know, that's what he was thinking. So this application activity is such a crucial part. You even saw on their desk they were doing some writing. This is where a lot of writing is integrated in this application piece. So it's a really important part of this lesson. Any other questions about this knowledge piece or takeaways after watching this lesson? Okay, we'll do a quick review and then we will take a break. So she does a really good job of setting her students up for success. She's activating that background knowledge as well as providing any essential background information and vocabulary needed to comprehend the text. She also has a quick pace. She uses turn and talk, but you could also add in costumes or artifacts, any other digital media to really get students excited about this. Discussion techniques. She uses a lot here. Stand up and discuss with a partner, partner up and then square up, join another partnership. Lots of student to student discourse in here, which is great. You could also use some look, lean, and whisper, some kinesthetic responses, lots of things you can do. The word work piece, use your teacher discretion to add that kinesthetic movements to help students internalize the meaning of the word. The lesson design of the word work component, students are going to experience a gradual release where they learn the meaning of a word and hear it used in a sentence before practicing it independently. And that part was when she was doing the word brave and the students were saying, I was brave when I got my shots. That's that word work component. I love it. And then an application activity at the end. This is going to allow students to apply what they learned during the read aloud and various activities that include writing, drawing, and acting. All right. Any questions before we break? We're going to take a break for about 10 minutes. Then we're going to come back and you're going to get an opportunity to see a read aloud done at your specific grade level. Okay. Well, it is 1:55. Let's plan to come back together at 2:05. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful break.
Lucy, can you hear me? It's Karen Braz.
Hi, Karen. Yes, I can.
I hear you. I can't hear you. That was the problem before. Okay.
Can you hear me now or no?
This is Heather relaying information for
When
Karen.
you present,
Hi, Heather. Karen.
when you present, Lori can't see me. So Heather's taking on the full load of this. And now I switched to my laptop and you can hear me, but I can't hear you. There's like no sound. I don't know why. This is so frustrating. All right, I'm going to go back to my, Lori's going to try and figure out a way to pin and unpin. So I'll go back to my other one. Thank you.
I think the frustration part, Lucy, is, you know, Lori has to try and figure out this technology thing. So instead of focusing on the content of the workshop, Lori's focusing on, I can't see Heather, I can't see Karen, I can see Karen, I can't see Heather. So when you present, I'm the only interpreter she can see the whole time.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, again, it's, it's
Yeah.
just problems, but it's not fair. I hate to use that word fair, but it's not accessible for Lori to not be able to see both of the interpreters when you're
Absolutely.
presenting. But again, we all need to see the presentation too, so we can read the questions.
Right. I sent a message to Karen. I don't know if she got it. I was asking her to leave the meeting and come back. Maybe she'll be able to hear me that way.
I've done that multiple times.
Okay.
But I can hear you now on this computer. I can't hear it on my laptop. On my home laptop, I can't hear you, but Lori can see me. And on on this school laptop or Chromebook or whatever it's called, she can see me when you're not presenting, but she can't see me when you are bringing things up on the screen. That wasn't a problem in the morning because we were using Google Meet on phones, but that zapped her data, so we stopped.
I'm going to make a quick call to see if there's anyone that can help me help you all with all this during our break.
Sorry, Lucy, but Lori actually said, I think I figured it out.
Oh, okay.
She said, what I had done was at the very top where you have that little tab bar, I don't know what it's called, where you can see the attendance, you can see the chat. I can pin on Karen and then unpin her, and that seems to work for now.
Okay.
And I do appreciate all your help and all the phone calls and all the attempts. I do. Sorry.
Please don't apologize. This is a learning curve for us as well, and realizing that we need to make some adjustments to these. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. And also, like I said, I know that the purpose of, a lot of the videos are audio, and they're not captioned. So, for someone, we have lots of hard of hearing students, so they're not going to hear all the sounds either. So I'm not sure if it's possible for the company to add the captions, because I don't know if you know much about Google Captions, but I don't know if you're reading any of them. But for me, as an educator, as a teacher, I don't have access to this. Because I'm not hearing, I'm hard of hearing, I'm completely deaf, so I have zero access. But again, my students being hard of hearing and deaf, I need to be able to facilitate that information to them as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I know I've already made a call, and the first thing they said was, "Oh, we need to make some adjustments then." So it's been a good experience. I mean, unfortunately for you, but a good learning experience for us, so we can make these adjustments.
Okay, again, I do appreciate that. And I'm happy to know that you've already made that phone call and got the ball rolling.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will see you guys in a few minutes, okay? We'll meet back here around 2:05, 2:06.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you've had a nice break. Just give me a little hello or a thumbs up, either on your screen or in the chat box when you're back. Awesome. Looks like everyone is back or just about back. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving on. So the next part of our session is that you're going to get a chance to view a read aloud lesson at your specific grade level. So I am going to put in the chat box the links to those lessons. They are found in your participant notebook starting on page 42. So everyone is going to be looking at the first domain and the first lesson. So they are in the chat box there for you now. I'll give you about a minute or two, and then I'll go ahead and send you those links to the videos. All right, so in just a second here, I'll put the video links in the chat box. What I want you to look for is, how does the teacher engage these students through the read aloud? And then also, how does she, or how does he, how does the teacher, are they reading the text as is, or are they paraphrasing? So just make sure you pay attention to that. Now, these videos are a bit longer and we don't have time to watch the full video. So you are welcome to kind of skip around so that you want, if you want to see the end of the video, but we're only looking at the read aloud component. We're going to spend about 8 minutes, and then I'm going to call you back to the screen. And unfortunately, that won't give you enough time to watch the video in full, but you do have access to it if you would like to catch it later on. So those are in the chat box for you, and I'll call you back to the screen in about 8 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. I know that wasn't probably the full amount of time you needed to view all of that whole video, but hopefully you got a good opportunity to see what a read aloud at your grade level looks like. Hopefully you notice different strategies the teacher is using to engage her students. I especially love the second grade teacher. I think she does an amazing job. So even if some point you want to save that second grade link and just view it for a few minutes and just watch how engaging she is, even in this remote setting. It's pretty remarkable. Hopefully you noticed the teacher reading the text as is. They were not paraphrasing anything. That's really important to make sure our students are being exposed to that rigorous content. But just wanted to see if there's any big takeaways you noticed or any questions that you may have. Okay. You guys are doing an amazing job. I know this is a very long day in front of a screen, so I appreciate your cooperation and your patience. Let's just do a little stamp our learning on this whole knowledge strand here, right? These lesson components. So the introducing read aloud component is going to activate that background knowledge so students can better understand the text. We're also going to take the time here to give students any essential background information and vocabulary needed to comprehend the text. Now the read aloud, these should be read as written and quickly paced to keep students' attention. Try to use a variety of discussion techniques for comprehension questions during the read aloud. Again, you can really bring this read aloud to life by inserting your personality in here. Wear those costumes, hats, bring in artifacts, digital media, whatever you want to do to help keep those students engaged. And the goal here is to expose students to new content. Students are not expected to fully master the content after hearing one text, but rather build an understanding through multiple texts. The comprehension question. So the discussion after the read aloud is intended to aid students in their comprehension of the key ideas of the text. Again, use a variety of student engagement strategies to increase that student-to-student discourse. Comprehension and questions include a variety of literal, inferential, and evaluative questions. Word work. So these activities are an opportunity for students to practice the correct use of a key vocabulary word. As much as possible, make this lesson component an opportunity for your students to stand up and move around the room. The application activity at the end is so important. These are meant to synthesize and extend the learning from the read aloud and discussion. And these often build off one another. So sometimes a journal or just a lot of things that are built upon throughout the unit. All right, so let's do a quick check for understanding about this. So true or false, that introducing the read aloud is going to help activate students' background knowledge so they can better comprehend the text. And that, of course, is true. Next one. Teachers should paraphrase the text if students are struggling with comprehension so that students can learn the content. False. We're supposed to read it as is. True or false? Teachers should incorporate engaging discussion techniques into the lesson. And of course, that is true. Great job. So today we talked a lot about the student hub, right? So now we're going to get a chance to kind of watch a video. It is our last video, I promise. But and this is really just to show you how the hub works and the additional components that can be used to really enhance the CKLA instruction. This is great because this is going to give students the ability to access the sound library, the knowledge builders, and the e-readers and audiobooks on their own. So I'm going to share this video with you.
Hub collects many of CKLA's digital resources in one easy-to-navigate space for students and teachers. To log in, go to ckla.amplify.com/hub and enter your username and password. Teachers and students from grades 3 through 5 will have individual usernames and passwords. K-2 students use a shared student login. Once you're logged in, you'll be asked to select your grade. You can change the grade you're looking at later by tapping here. The K-2 experience has 3 main components: the theater, the sound library, and the library for ebooks and other texts. The theater contains knowledge builder videos. There's one video for each CKLA knowledge domain. We recommend that these be played at the start of the domain to introduce the topic and to build excitement. You can watch videos by using these controls.
What are you boys doing over there?
Oh, we're creating civilizations.
The sound library contains resources to help students learn, recognize, and articulate individual sounds. The sounds are organized by a skills unit. Each card contains one sound. On each card, students can listen to the sound to hear proper pronunciation, as well as watch a video that shows a real kid articulating the sound. There's fun animation, too.
Guitar. Guitar.
There are also sound songs, presented as short music videos.
I'm gonna get a guitar. I'm gonna get a good groove. Gonna grab my star.
The library contains all the CKLA readers. These are sorted by unit. Students can navigate by turning the pages, or use the table of contents. Each of our ebooks includes a read aloud option as well, to help support students at different reading levels, or with different accessibility needs. Students can activate it by tapping here.
The fish. Once, Mom hung a fish up on a string. The cat bandit was scratching himself when he got a whiff of the fish.
The 3 through 5 hub also contains the Amplify vocab app for extra vocabulary practice. The vocab app gives students CKLA unit vocabulary words for daily fun, themed practice exercises. If students need help while using the hub, they can get it by tapping this button on any of the pages. This is the face of CK2, students' robot guide to the hub.
Hello? Oh, hello out there. You look friendly. It's nice to see a friendly face.
And when you're done with the hub, tap here to log out.
All right, so the students love the hub. It's a really great resource that can be used at home or at school. Now, your students will have access once you have your own personalized login. Once you have your login, there's a class created, and for K-2, your students will have one code to log in to access the hub, where they'll be able to get their readers, their knowledge builder videos, and that sound library. So it's a really great resource. And again, unfortunately, the teacher guide doesn't reference it for you, so just to make sure you know you have it and use it with your kiddos. Questions on the hub? Okay. All right, guys, so we went through all of the skill strand and all of the knowledge strand, which is really our goal of the day, so that hopefully you feel a little more comfortable teaching these strands to your students. We do think it's really important to touch upon writing, so you can see how that's really integrated into the curriculum. So we'll take a quick look at writing and a quick look at assessments before we close out for today. When we think of writing, we often think of that act of just putting the pen to paper and writing. But as educators, we know that there are so many other capacities that must be developed in order to be truly successful at that art of writing. The graphic on the slide here allows us to examine the foundations in writing. So in order to become proficient writers, students must develop their receptive and expressive language, their content and background knowledge, their ability to read complex text, as well as their understanding of language conventions. The CKLA program is designed to teach these foundations in tandem with what students are being asked to write. The framework here provides a natural connection in the learning process for students as they're developing as readers and as writers. So you're going to see that CKLA really guides students through explicit skill instruction and daily application of these foundational writing pieces so that when a given, formal piece is given, they can be successful. When examining student writing, CKLA really emphasizes quality before quantity. So you may notice that there are less formal writing opportunities when compared to maybe other curriculums you've used in the past. However, CKLA is really going to take up the time to build up these foundations of writing so that when a formal writing piece is completed, students have the foundations necessary to produce that high quality piece. So you'll notice that students are spending time crafting a shorter piece before increasing the length. All right, so in just a minute here, I'm going to give you some time just to look at how writing is throughout a unit. So kind of what it looks like. Writing is integrated in both the skill strand and both the knowledge strand. So you're going to get a little bit of it everywhere. The best way to find out kind of what the main goal of writing is for a unit is looking in that unit introduction. So in your teacher guide, after the table of contents, you'll see that unit introduction for the skills and the knowledge strand. In there should be a little writing piece there. That's going to easily tell you your goal. By looking at your table of contents and looking at each part of the lesson, you'll see which days have a bigger writing piece than other days. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to just explore these writing pieces at your grade level. You're going to see excerpts from the teacher guide. You're going to see excerpts from the student activity book to really just kind of get a feel of what writing looks like throughout some units. So if you have your participant notebook, it starts on page 55, but I am going to just share these links with you to make it a little more easy for you. Give me 1 second. Okay. So those are in the chat box. And again, we'll take about 5 or 7 minutes. You'll see some reflection questions. Feel free to answer those or just think about them. And then we'll probably just come back and share any big takeaways you notice after looking at that writing. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully that gave you a few minutes to just skim through the writing in your throughout the unit for your grade level. Any questions on anything that you saw or anything you really liked? I love how the graphic organizers are included there for you. I feel like every time I taught writing prior, it was like, what graphic organizer can I use, and had to spend time finding it. So I love that those are right there available for you. Just some key things to remember with the writing. It really is truly integrated. So you're going to find some grammar here. You're going to find like the response to writing questions that you'll do maybe in a knowledge lesson is going to benefit you later on in something that you do later. So it's really important that you complete the lessons in full and don't cut any components out, because everything is built off one another. Just another like little teacher tip, all of the writing is done in the student activity book. So that was always different for me because I always had like a writing folder or a writing notebook. All of that writing is done in that student activity book. So just a kind of FYI for you. And then we have here in the chat box, in second grade, the connection between the skill strand and the knowledge strand in regards to narratives. Awesome. Thank you, Celeste. Okay. Well, guys, I promise we are almost done. We're going to quickly look at assessments, and then we'll get ready to close out. So in CKLA, you're going to see 3 different types of assessments. You're going to see long cycle assessments. These are ones that you only give a couple times a year, you know, like your beginning year and your middle year. You'll see medium cycle assessments. Those are ones to kind of think of like at the end of a unit, you know, at the end of your skills unit, at the end of your knowledge unit. When you look at the pacing that's recommended by CKLA, you'll notice that the skills and knowledge units, they never end at the same time, which ends up being very nice because then you're not assessing your skills and knowledge at the same time. So I love the way that's done for you. And then your short cycle assessments. These are within your lesson or maybe at the end of a lesson. And these are there really to just always align to that primary focus objective. And we kind of saw some of these earlier when we looked at some of those formative assessments in that lesson overview. So let's take a look at these very quickly, starting with those long cycle assessments. So you have your beginning of year assessment. This is really used to determine that readiness for grade level content and identify skill gaps. So when you give this assessment in the beginning of the year, you're not going to walk away with a reading level. You're just kind of going to see, oh, okay, my students have some skill gaps here, and just kind of where they're placed according for grade level content. So when you are working with your students, you kind of keep that in mind. Who may need a little extra support along the way. You also have a mid-year and end-of-year assessment. This is going to assess that CKLA content taught up to that point, and again, identify those skill gaps and remediation areas. So your end of unit, these are your medium cycle assessments. What I love about them and the pacing, they are located as part of the last lesson of each knowledge and skills unit. So that means you don't have to worry about adding on another day for assessment. It's included in that pacing right there. You will notice in grades 1 and 2, there is no unit 1 assessment, and that's because of the length that it takes to get through that beginning of the year assessment. So just to let you know about that. Now these are great. They're going to be used to gauge that individual understanding of standards taught throughout the unit. And you'll notice that there are multiple skills assessed and multiple assessment methods used. And then these are those formative assessments. They're identified in each lesson. This is an excerpt from that lesson overview. They're going to align to that primary focus objective, give you feedback on your students, and help you inform your instruction. You'll also notice that there are some checks for understanding found within your lesson. This is what they look like. You'll see them just pop up in the middle of your lesson. These are there for you. Again, they align to the primary focus objective. It's a quick check. A lot of time it's a thumbs up, thumbs down, just a way to get a good read on your class and help you inform your instruction. Maybe you may need to utilize those sidebar supports. You're noticing, oh, we need a little support, or hey, maybe we need a little challenge. So that was a very, very quick overview of some of the assessments found within CKLA. Let's talk about the resources that CKLA has for teachers to remediate and enrich instruction based on your student assessment results. So for those long cycle assessments, CKLA has created an assessment and remediation guide. This is a comprehensive guide that provides additional remediation activities to use with your students. This is not something you're going to find in one of your boxes. This is only available online. So again, you'll go to your grade level page. You'll scroll past your knowledge domains, your skills units, and you'll see an icon that says Assessment and Remediation Guide. You can click on that, and that's going to bring you up a lot of great resources. You'll also see on the website there's an intervention toolkit, and that would be another great place to work in some remediation. So for your medium cycle assessments, there are pausing points in the skill strand and culminating activities in the knowledge strand that are going to occur right after your unit assessments. So you can determine which pausing point or which culminating activity would be best for your students based on their assessment results. There are lots of great activities in there, so I highly recommend checking those out even prior to teaching your unit. And then finally, for your short cycle assessments, as we had mentioned before, there are the sidebar supports that are found within the lesson that offer that differentiation ideas based on that student data. There's also, for the skills strand, additional support activities at the end of each lesson. I love these. So if you're teaching your lesson in that skills strand and you're noticing, oh, she really needs some assistance or he really needs a little extra help with this lesson, there's going to be some activities that are based on those same primary focus objectives right there for you to help with remediation. In the knowledge strand, the pausing point comes midway through the unit, and this is going to allow for you to choose student activities based on your students' needs. Again, there's some really great activities there. Well, that was a really quick overview of assessments as well. And we are getting ready to close out. We just have a couple more things to do. I'm going to go over some more resources for you. I have a survey link, and then I'll be here to answer any questions. So I know this was a very, very long day, but I hope you're feeling, I know you're feeling probably a little overwhelmed and tired, but I hope there's a little bit of excitement in you for this CKLA. So I just wanted to know if you could just put it in the chat box, which section of CKLA are you most excited to teach? And I'm going to come back and check out the chat box. See lots of skill strand, awesome. Phonemic awareness, the phonics, skills. One of my favorite things, other than all of these things, is that the grammar is included in here. We always had to find extra grammar and plug it in whenever we could. I love that it's right there for you. Skills. Lisa says hard. They all look good. That's amazing. Yes, thank you, Ashley. I'm excited about the student readers and how it will reinforce, learn spelling patterns and tricky words. Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Go ahead and keep adding those in. I'm just going to keep going just to get you out on time. So hopefully after today, you have an idea behind the design principles behind these strands, and then hopefully taking some time to watch some exemplar videos, even at your grade level, give you a better idea of the components and routines in both the skills and knowledge lessons. This page should be in your participant notebook on page 97. You may just want to add my name and my email, lkc@amplify.com. We really want you to feel supported along the way, and which is great to know that your district is already planning something for June. I think we'll probably take a better look at planning those first units, which is really a great day. I love that session. You walk out with some like unit plans and it feels great. So please let me know if you need me to go back to that slide, and I'll be happy to do it. If you're on Facebook and you like to collaborate with other teachers, this is a great place for you. In Facebook, just search out Amplify Core Knowledge Language Arts, and you'll find this group. This is a really great place. You'll see it's educators from all over, just kind of collaborating, sharing ideas, resources. It's awesome. Sometimes you even see people from Amplify answering questions on there, which is nice. If you're really interested in the science of reading, this is a great resource on Facebook again. Just search out the science of reading, the community. You'll see this image. Just really, really intelligent people that have so much knowledge about the science of reading. I've learned a lot by clicking on a lot of the articles they post. So pretty exciting. And then the last thing we have today is just a survey. I'm going to go ahead and put that survey in the chat box for you. It should only take about 3 to 5 minutes, so you will have time to complete it. And then after that, you are free to go. I will hang out the entire time if you guys have any questions, just to kind of walk you through some things. But I'm going to put that in there, and then I'll be available for questions. But I appreciate your time. I know this is a really long day in front of the computer, especially on a Monday. So I appreciate your collaboration today. So that is in the chat box. Please let me know if you have any help or if you need any help, and I'll be happy to do that. I'm just trying to reference. I know there was a question asked earlier today, and I finally got an answer about the DGE. Someone asked if DGE was taught in CKLA, and the answer is yes. It's taught in kindergarten, or sorry, it's taught in 2nd grade. I'm doing too many things at one time. It's taught, yep, in 2nd grade, Unit 5. And then, yep, 2nd grade. Sorry, I was just referencing all that. Susan, I'm going to put my email in the chat box for you again. I apologize if I moved too quickly there. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it. If you guys do not have any questions and you're finished with your survey, please go enjoy the rest of your day. And hopefully I'll see you guys in June, maybe in person. Who knows? Thank you, everyone. Oh, Susan, I put it in there again, but maybe it got pushed up. I'm gonna add it one more time for you. There we go. Thank you, Ashley. Have a great day. Bye, Pam. Thank you. Lori, thank you so much. And I apologize for the extra stress that it brought on to you. I've definitely called everyone and kind of said, hey, we need to make some changes here. Heather and Karen, thank you very much for your hard work. It cannot be easy.
No problem. Lori said I'm used to it, so.
I'm sorry.
It is what it is. It's not your fault, but thank you.
Fantastic. You all have a lovely afternoon. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye. You too.
Bye-bye.